My name is Erima, and this is the story of how I became an apple of discord among men. My mother died while giving birth to me, and my aunt took me in, and she took care of me since my first day on earth. 5 years later, my father got married to Egodi, who claimed to love me so much. My aunt knew Egodi right from their youthful age. She told me how wicked Egodi was to her stepmother, how she maltreated her stepsisters and poisoned one of them, which led to her blindness. This put fear in me, but why didn't my aunt tell my daddy all this? I knew my daddy was a stubborn man and had paid deaf ears to my aunt's warning against marrying Egodi. I was scared not just for my life, but for my daddy's life too. God knows I would never live with them, not after hearing this. Several times, Egodi came to take me with them, but my aunt refused. She forced my aunt on several occasions because she refused to let her take me. People said my aunt was selfish for not letting me to enjoy my fatherly love. Some years later, my aunt gave up in the cold hands of death. Then I knew my life has ended. Her husband never liked me. He hated I was the reason why his wife was labeled evil. Immediately after she was buried, Egodi took me with them. I wished I could run away, but to where? I decided to face whatever fate had brought to me. Throughout the first year of my stay with her, she treated me like I was her daughter. I began to doubt all that my aunt had said about her. I never knew she pretended to have loved me so much to make people believe she was the good person. People said I was fortunate to have such an awesome stepmother. But everything changed from the day she forced me to carry a heavy firewood from a farm about 10 kilometers from our home. That day, she said, "It was time for you to pay for all the pains I went through in the hands of your stupid aunt just to take you." Like she knew I wanted you to serve and work for me. Just know she is nowhere to fight for you again. She said my life was in her hands, and if I speak to anyone about what happened, she would kill me. Since then, she stopped feeding me well. I became a slave in my father's house. I did virtually everything in the house, yet she was never grateful. She called me names. She took away all the dresses my aunt bought for me and burnt them. She hits me at every slightest mistake. My home became the farm where I farmed for her. All she could do was to sit in front of the house every day and paint herself, looking at herself in the mirror. What baffled me was how my daddy paid blind eyes and a deaf ear to all that was happening. He never fought for me. Rather, he supported her. One day, when I was working in the farm, I was so hungry because I had not eaten for 4 days because she refused to give me food. I went into the forest to search for fruit. In the middle of the forest, I came across a table set with a meal on it. I ate the food without minding who kept it. After eating the meal, my life changed from that day, from a lonely, dirty, motherless maid to a charming princess that everyone would love to serve. On my way home, same day, I met Emenike, who saw me with a heavy firewood and ran to help me carry it. He took the firewood from my head and he said, "Beautiful one, how can you carry this heavy firewood when I am always at your service?" Like that was not enough, he said I was adoring. I was surprised. This was the same person that never spoke to me before. The incredible thing happened before my eyes. Immediately, Emenike took the firewood from my head. Two men from nowhere came and fought him, dragging him to help me. I couldn't stop them, so I ran home. I was scared of what my stepmother would do to me because I didn't come back with any firewood that day. But she came back and served me food instead. She called me her beautiful daughter. Since that day, my stepmother stopped me from doing anything in the house. She stopped me from going to the farm, fetching firewood, water, or even do the dishes and laundry. The surprising part was that she started doing my laundry for me. My dad started buying me gifts. I wondered what changed. One afternoon, I decided to go to the village square and watch the entertainment show by men and maidens of same age group. Immediately I got to the village square, all the maidens that used to run away from me came and begged to be my friend. This was what I wanted. Without wasting time, I accepted them. But within a few minutes, all the men who were dancing happily saw me and stopped. The next thing, they began to fight among themselves, struggling to come close to me. Each of them wanted to be close to me, but the others would not allow that. I became confused. I tried to talk to them, but the fight was unbearable. I ran back home. I couldn't enjoy the event that everyone is always happy about. Since then, it became a norm that men fought at the sight of me. My presence became the root of serious disputes between friends, brothers, even between father and sons. I became an apple of discord for men. Every maiden admired and wished to be like me. They served me. I wasn't comfortable with all that. All I wanted was for us to live equally and happily as friends. The part I loved most and wished to continue was my stepmother's new treat. I wished men don't fight for my sake. I became scared of leaving my room because of the troubles I would cause. How the villagers kept quiet about the fight I caused made me know that what was happening to me was supernatural. One day, one of my friends invited me to her wedding. I refused to attend the wedding to avoid causing troubles or any form of disputes. But she insisted I must come, stating that was the first time she asked me for a favor. I later agreed to go with her after a series of arguments, but in disguise. On the day of our wedding, I covered my face with fabric so that no one will recognize me. When I greeted her, she was so happy I came, but she wasn't happy I was in disguise. She insisted I must uncover myself, but I refused. Something happened that I regretted till this day. She begged me to go with her to where her husbands-to-be and families were waiting, which I refused, but she insisted I go with her. For me, since I was in disguise, nothing would happen. Not knowing that her plan was to introduce me to her husband. When we entered the room where they stayed, she took away my fabric from my face and said to her husband, "Hubby, meet my best friend." Something happened. Immediately her husband came closer to welcome me. His younger brother pushed him away. "How dare you go close to my woman?" he said. All I could hear was, "She is my woman, she is my woman," as they began to fight. My friend got angry. She ran off the room and called off the wedding. She hated me since that day. I tried to explain things to her, but she refused to listen to me. I couldn't bear it anymore. I thought of what to do to free myself from the chaos. But I can't leave my room because our house was in the heart of the village, and going to the forest, I must pass through the village square, where people are always present because of the calmness the big Odara tree gives. I came to realize that all this started after I ate from the food I saw in the heart of the forest. I made my journey to the forest, covering my face. I got to the same spot in the forest, and there was nothing there again. I knelt down and cried, begging for freedom. Then a beautiful maiden appeared before me. She said I ate the food meant for the forest maiden, which was the food that's supposed to make her attractive and loved by people seamlessly. But because it was taken by the wrong person, it caused chaos among men and destruction among any related opposite sex that set their eyes on me. This explained why my friend's husband and the brother became worst enemies. Emenika and his cousin were eager to kill each other, and why Nnamdi poisoned his brother's food because of me. It made more sense to me. I begged for what to do to free myself, but she said, "I was sent to kill you, but all this while I had watched you closely to see if you will misuse the power you have received. But you are kind, humble, and respectable maiden. And because of the hatred you have received, I will forgive you." She asked me to return home and meet my true husband before he leaves. When I got home, I met Nnadozie. Nnadozie was my childhood friend from my aunt's place. He was so kind to me and fought for me all the while I stayed in their village, until he was taken by his uncle to learn business. He turned out a very rich businessman. I was excited to see him. He declared his intentions to marry me. He said that a maiden had appeared to him and told him all I've been passing through and where to find me. He said the maiden was the one that directed him to our house, and he had wanted to marry me. And this was how my single mistake saved me from the hands of my wicked stepmother.